Hello, I'm Damien Barrett. Welcome to Access All Areas, brought to you by OPSM. Coming up on the show today, we'll be chatting to Dr. Peter Larkins about all the key injuries from the weekend. With me now, replacing Luke Darcy for at least one more week, is the big man, Matthew Richardson. Richo, a lot going on today.
Oh, there certainly is, Damo. Of course, Matty Primus has stood down in Port Adelaide, and the chairman, Brett Duncanson, so that club's in a little bit of trouble. But Damo, you've just posted on AFL.com, a young Western Bulldogs player has been found in possession of illicit drugs and in a state of unconsciousness this morning on King Street, I believe.
Yeah, it was after their game on Saturday night, going into Sunday morning. The player in question is Tom Liberatore, the young gun from the Bulldogs, and it was about 3:30 a.m. on King Street in Melbourne's CBD, a notorious night spot, found to be in a state of unconsciousness, drifting in and out of consciousnness, and was found to be in possession of illegal substances, which the club is now dealing with. This is a statement from the police given to us this morning. Police attended outside a King Street nightclub, 3:30 in the morning, located a 20-year-old man lying on the footpath, allegedly dropping in and out of consciousness. And it goes on to say that he's been placed on a diversion program. There's a few, I suppose, spin-off issues now to come into play here. The Bulldogs are still, as we speak, working out what to do with it. We've repeatedly tried to contact the Bulldogs in the past 24 hours, numerous times, have not had one call returned. They are dealing with it. The AFL, we believe, is also aware of it, but it's the Bulldogs' handling of it at the moment. So
what happens from now? It doesn't fall under the illicit drugs policy. He hasn't been tested. Will he be target tested now? And does it come under the jurisdiction of the AFL or the Western Bulldogs? Who handles the punishment for it?
Look, it will come under the drugs policy. It has to by the definition of it, simply because the police have again, allegedly found him in possession of drugs. Now, he's been placed on the diversion program. As such, it will be considered a strike. Ideally, in the AFL's world, they like to keep this confidential and private. But again, when the police are involved, as they are on this occasion, that is not the case. It's effectively public, and as such, it will be considered a strike. And yes, he will be target tested, as all players are, once they are found to have breached the protocols of that policy.
Are you expecting the Bulldogs to make a statement today, or?
Yeah, there'll be a statement of some sorts. What will be in that, again, we don't know, but they've been dealing with it now for the best part of 24 hours themselves, and a lot of meetings this morning involving all the key people there.
Right.
Yeah. The other big one is the Port Adelaide story, isn't it? We saw with their loss on the weekend to GWS that was always going to end badly, and it has. Matthew promised that we've met with key officials yesterday. It was put to him, Richo, that he could coach out the rest of the year. He's made the decision, I believe the right one. He's going to get out of there right now, and he has. And that's one part of the story. The other part is that the chairman, Brett Duncanson,
down at the end of the year. Now, Damien, you've been following this club for a long time. Another new coach 2 years on from Matty Primus being appointed. They're saying that they're not in disarray. What's your take on it?
Oh, they're in as much disarray as any club's been in the modern era. I mean, there's a Fitzroy feel to what's going on, and I hate to use that word because we know what happened to them. That is not going to happen to Port Adelaide. They've got the full AFL backing, which Fitzroy didn't. But, Richo, you're right. I mean, it was only 2 years ago they reappointed Mark Williams, and that lasted 15, 16 weeks. Last year they appointed Matthew Primus. He couldn't even see out part of that contract. They're making the wrong decisions. And look, Brett Duncanson going, I believe is a good thing, because I just think it allows not just the coach to be replaced, but also another key person at the club. And really, it needs to go further than that too.
Is there a payout to be made to Matty Primus? Did he have another year on his contract?
Yeah, there was a trigger clause in the contract that related to both parties. There will be a payout, though, to answer your question. And Danny Frawley, a good friend of this program, has been dealing with that matter on behalf of Matthew to a point today about it. I mean, you've been around enough footy, and you've played at a club where coaches changed. Just the effect that it has, given it's now happened twice in 2 years with coaches effectively either being sacked or moved on, it can't be a good effect.
Well, from a player's point of view, I remember at Richmond, when Robert Walls came to the club, he was coach for not even 2 years. Then he was replaced by Jeff Geishan for another 2 years. And in that time, that 4 year period, what it does to the players is you're just starting to get used to one message from one coach and starting to develop and learn your game under that coach. A new coach comes in and you start all over again. There's a brand new message. And I believe that it really can harm the development of young players, and that's a 4 year period where you're getting a lot of different messages, and it can harm the development of younger players. Maybe not your star talented players, because they're going to get through anyway, but it's not a good thing. You can't be changing changing coaches every 2 years.
And not just the mindset of what it does to the players, but what about the specifics of players who are out of contract and yet to re-sign? And we've talked about it all year. What do you think it does to the Travis Boak situation and also to the Chaplin situation, which is also looming as a pretty serious story for Port Adelaide?
The Travis Boak one is interesting. We believed a few weeks ago that he had told his teammates that he was going to stay, but now with this happening, that's got to throw that decision probably out the window. You would think that he'd be reassessing that, and Troy Chaplin, we believe, is being approached heavily by a number of clubs here in Melbourne, and with this happening, you'd have to think that he'd be thinking, I'm probably going to move on as well.
Yeah, and in no particular order, the clubs after Chaplin, Richmond, Carlton and St Kilda, and there's almost certain to be more than that, but those three clubs particularly are going big time. Hey, Friday night, Tom Hawkins, how impressed with you are him? And we raise that because he kicked a goal to win the game of footy. And tell us about Tom.
Look, he is just the most powerful key forward in the game inside 50 at the moment. Buddy is obviously the best forward in the game. He can do everything. But Hawkins is taking more marks inside 50 than anyone, and he's just a real power forward now. But what I like about Tommy is he seems to thrive on the big occasion. We know that he was fantastic in the grand final, nearly won the Norm Smith. Bartel just beat him there. And this was another huge game. Kicking a goal after the siren, he soaked up that pressure, and he's had been criticised for his kicking in the past, but he's really come a long way this year.
Now, you think the club would get a real lift out of a goal being kicked after the siren to win the game, but it's actually a curse if we have a look at this particular screen now. Look what happens the next week to teams that have won a game with a player kicking the goal after the siren.
So what's that, 7 or 8? The last 8 games in a row that a team has won after the siren, they've lost the next week. Well, of course, the Cats are going over to Perth this week to play the Eagles, who are on a bit of a downer. They need to win, so it'll be interesting to see if that continues. I'm not sure it will. No. I think the Cats will get over the line.
Okay. Matty, the premiership market by way of bookmakers' odds has been a lottery all year. Hawthorn, which was 9th for some time, was still favourite. Now, they've actually moved out as a result of that weekend's match. Yeah. Sydney has moved in, and for a long time, they were still in double-figure odds. Collingwood has been kept safe regularly on this matter. Adelaide, very, very steady, but still $8 about a team that is tracking to finish top 2. Geelong, the big mover. Can they win the premiership, Matty?
No doubt. They know how to win big games of footy, and at the start of that game on Friday night, it was their big names. It was Chapman, it was Johnson, it was Selwood that got them going. I think they still can win it. They may have to do it from outside the top 4. I think they're capable. And the big move down, I guess, is the Eagles. They've really lost form. They've lost 5 out of their last 9 games, and they just look to me to be really struggling. Injuries have caught up with them late in the year, and they'll have to come to Melbourne probably now for their first final, and I can't see them winning.
Yep. On AFL.com.au, Jeff Geishan, the umpire's boss, appears on a program called It's Your Call. We're going to go early this week. We're going to make it a Monday item because we need to have a look at a couple of late in-match issues here. This is Friday night. Surioli tackling Mitch Duncan. Should that free kick have been paid to Surioli?
Very borderline there. I reckon if he took one more step, you would say definitely. Look, they've definitely been paid in the past, and my understanding was always of that rule that if you didn't dispose of the ball correctly, it was holding the ball. Yep. Probably borderline. We've seen a lot of those let go this year.
That was Friday night. Let's take a look at Saturday night's incident involving Harry O'Brien of Collingwood and Stephen Milne. Did he chop the arms as the umpire said he did?
Well, Dean Marr gets paid the free kick for chopping of the arms. I don't believe it was chopping of the arms. You see his right arm came through and got Harry...
So play on that instance?
Yeah, I believe so. Well, the free kick wasn't for chopping the arms. There was no chopping of the arms.
Was there a free kick?
You could argue that Milne wasn't looking at the ball and was hit front on, so you maybe could have paid it for that, but certainly not for chopping the arms. That's my opinion.
Richard, we posed that question on Twitter, what our followers thought of the umpiring overall this round, and there were some strong views, and they all went negatively toward the umpiring. Trotty says, pathetic. They are making wrong decisions just to play a part and changing the outcome of games. Hawks robbed, as were Saints. Heidi had this to say. Absolute disgrace. Umpire already had his mind made up against Milne, ruined a fantastic game. And Brendan offered this on Twitter, not just this week, some terrible home team bias prevalent in the AFL. Currently, West Coast and Geelong are major beneficiaries. You're never going to get a favourable umpiring opinion, are you?
To be honest, on Twitter, you never get a lot of positive feedback, let's be honest. The umpires, they fight a losing battle. It's a very, very tough job, and look, most of the time they get it right. Occasionally they get it wrong. Well,
that's our question posed on the OPSM poll this week. Should Rioli's tackle have been rewarded in the dying stages of the Cats and Hawks games? And I think we know which way that one is going to track, but you need to get onto the Facebook page there of the AFL to give your response on that. Dee's fan yesterday in the Gold Coast game. Have a look at this vision here, Richo, and please take us through it. And what should happen to that idiot who has used his record to hit
the boys are having a wrestle on the fence there. Now, it's a little tiny slap with a record, but it's totally unacceptable. You cannot have fans leaning over the fence touching players. It did no damage, of course.
What makes him think he's got a right to do that?
He has no right.
And what should happen to him now?
He has no right to do it, and I don't believe he should be allowed to go to the football again. He should have his membership taken off him.
Ever, or just this year?
Well,
give him a second chance.
Let's just say this year. But you can't lean over the fence and touch players. It's unacceptable. If a player leaned over and gave a fan a clip, imagine the outroar that we'd have for that. So, yeah, you just can't be doing that.
Yep. Hey, Brad Green of Melbourne is seriously one of the better blokes going around, and we love him being excited at times. But was he over the top here, Richo, in these goals he kicked against the very, very lowly Gold Coast team?
Look, let's be honest, Brad Green has had a tough year. He's had injuries. He had the captaincy obviously taken off him. He's been playing twos footy, and they can't win a game, Melbourne, and it's a miserable place to be.
What about this one?
That's pretty good. I don't mind it. I reckon we're a bit harsh if we criticise him. A long, hard year for the Demons. They get a tiny bit of enjoyment, and we want to take it off them, Damo. Give us a spell.
I'm not sure it's the best look, Richo, when you've been playing 250 games and you're beating the Gold Coast and you're doing it.
Nah, I'd be doing it. I don't mind a bit of celebration.
OK, the Giants, as we know, fixed up the Port Adelaide team and their coach in so doing. This is the start of the game. Young kids going older people just to set the theme. Do you like it?
I do. They've been drilled. I reckon Choco Williams is drilling it into this young. There's Dean Brogan. He's been doing it forever. But I reckon Choco, there's Jeremy Cameron getting into Trengrove. I reckon he's saying, don't be intimidated and bullied by older opposition, and I think it's fantastic. And they've got some rippers in there. I love the way Toby Green goes about it. Jeremy Cameron is not intimidated. Once he gets a bit more size about him, I doubt players will be getting into him because he's a super talent.
They'll brave pre-match, they'll brave post-match too, when a couple of them made sure Kevin Sheedy celebrated in traditional style with a bit of liquid over him, and Tommy Bugg might want to watch himself here, I would have thought.
Look, I am 100% certain that Sheeds had no idea what the words to that song were, but fantastic. They love Sheeds. He's just the doyen of the game. 1,000 games involved since in the last 45 years, and they got a win for him, and the boys were pumped, and good on them. Yeah,
it's good. The OPSM Fan Faceoff competition, Matty, a reminder. We need to remind people that this is the competition where you have a chance to win the ultimate 2012 Toyota AFL Grand Final experience for yourself and a friend. 6 double passes up for grabs over the next 6 weeks. All you have to do is take a picture of your AFL fan face. So you in your club colours or having an AFL experience anywhere in the world, upload that picture to opsm.com.au/fanfaceoff or get the free OPSM app from the Apple App Store. Richo, Twitter, you've embraced it like a lot of current and former players. I laughed out loud actually sitting by myself watching the women's marathon last night when you posted this. The 25-kilometre mark of the marathon is like day 4 of the good old footy trip. Hashtag some want to go home. Hashtag some settling in. Hashtag old days. Let's deal with the first of those hashtags. Yeah. In your experiences, who wanted to go home?
Well, I remember an experience in Los Angeles a few years ago now, a long time ago in fact. We're day 3 of a footy trip, and of course the boys are having a little bit of fun. I was rooming with Wayne Campbell, and I got home probably at about 3 in the morning, walked into the room, and Wayne was looking very distressed. He was on the phone. I said, "Who are you calling?" He said, "I'm on the phone to Qantas. I'm going home tomorrow." I said, "What do you mean you're going home? We're heading to Vegas tomorrow. We're only halfway through." He said, "I'm heading home, mate. I've had enough." So Wayne Campbell.
And who's the best at the other side of it? Who just went harder and harder?
Well, the boy that just settled in about day 3 was, remember Scotty Turner?
I do. Good fullback.
He could have gone for 3 weeks, Scotty. He loved it. He thrived on the environment.
I think you were trending on the back of that last night, so well done. Hey, time for a break. We'll catch up with Dr. Peter Luckins next to get an update on the big injury news from the weekend. And now, thanks to OPSM, it's time for Did You See That?
Round 19, when we all saw Thomas take this courageous grab.
Oh, an amazing mark, Thomas.
And Johnson's magic snap.
Bends it back.
There were some clips you may not have seen. Butterfingers.
Got the bouncing part of the game slightly wrong.
Sour grapes. And sugar plums.
Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies, the Nutcracker Suite. Dustin, you've got to be in time with the other boys. Dustin.
The top clips you missed from a week of ball flinging fun. This is Did You See That?
Boy, oh boy, wowee! Did you see that?
Clip 1. At 64 years of age and after 1,000 games, Sheedy still manages to break new ground. This week, showering in victory.
No matter how many games you coach, Tony Shaw.
Oh, I'm rapt to see it.
Clip 2. Patterson Stadium is a big ground. But did you see Fremantle make it look small?
Through the corridor, there was a couple there. Barlow was one, and he breaks quickly. Main's in his sights. Pavlich is thrown off McKenzie. They get it into him. Hill will shape it, and here it is for Pav. Got it, and got it.
Clip 3. In honour of the Australian Olympic team, Geelong attempted some synchronised diving.
Well, he allowed two Geelong players to collide numerically.
Clip 4. Richmond are a long way from the finals. This kick was a long way from goal.
And goes very long. That's a super goal from Delidio.
Clip 5. Doc Larkins receives his usual greeting from the Collingwood changing rooms.
I've already been hit in the head, and I think it was Shaw did that as well. But no, I'm trying to. He didn't get me too badly. He got me once.
And the Doc's diagnosis?
Yeah. He's a good shot, not when he's on goal, though.
Clip 6. Despite being thumped by the Kangaroos, a rookie, Michael Talia, gave Bulldogs fans a real highlight with his first goal.
What about that for your first goal in footy?
To vote for your favourite Did You See That moment and to have the chance to win a pair of Oakley sunglasses valued at $159.95, go to afl.com.au/Did You See That. Voting opens 9 a.m. Monday, Eastern Standard Time.